And joining me now is presidential historian Jon Meacham. Jon, so much to look at here with presidents who have been ill in the past, how we deal with it. I think of Reagan, of course, with the assassination attempt, serious surgery. We didn't know, in fact, how serious it was. Then, of course, the cancer. He had the colon cancer. George W. Bush had colonoscopies. Then Woodrow Wilson, FDR. How have presidents managed? Eisenhower, one thinks of, and they weren't even very transparent about that, correct?
Right. Presidents have not been historically transparent about their health. In fact, examples where there's been a free flow of information that the public is entitled to is very much the exception, not the rule. And it's a totally bipartisan phenomena. You mentioned the most famous example, which affected governance, is Woodrow Wilson, who had a stroke, who suffered from some strain of influenza in the era of that pandemic. His wife, his advisors were making decisions, and it genuinely affected our public policy, the battle for the League of Nations. George Herbert Walker Bush suffered from Graves' disease in ways that we didn't fully understand for a long time. And so there's a history of presidents who don't want to alarm the public. They don't want to appear weak. They are not transparent. And I'm afraid we don't know yet whether that will prove true here, but everyone should be vigilant and know that history tells you to treat medical reports from the White House as at best incomplete, and sometimes outright there are elements of it that can be manufactured to produce a certain political effect.
And we don't know why this is, but we understand from our reporting that the president was supposed to lead a 12:15 call on the COVID-19 and its effect on senior citizens, and instead Vice President Pence pitched in. So we don't know why, whether that was just more comfortable for him given everything that's going on today.
Sure.
The other instances that we think of are FDR, where they really, I mean, they didn't lie about his polio, but they were certainly downplaying the fact that he was in a wheelchair. And also JFK and his disease, where he had a fairly serious disease, and he was so athletic with the touch football and all that they really never disclosed it.
Well, he suffered from Addison's disease, and yes, in fact, he was the subject of the patient was anonymous in a medical review article. And one of the reasons President Kennedy was as good looking as he was, as full-faced, was because of cortisone. That was he was being treated with. So, again, there's a lot of history here. FDR, polio was kind of the least of it, actually. By the end of his term in office, which was obviously the 12 years in office, he had been reelected in 1944. He was suffering from congestive heart failure, but that was not fully aired by any means for the voters to take account of in 1944. It's understandable, if regrettable, that the information we get on presidents, the health of presidents, is, again, often incomplete, if not manufactured in ways to make the president appear more invincible and healthier than he might in fact be. And it's just a useful warning, a useful sense of skepticism that we should be armed with in these coming days, and particularly given we live in the most complicated of global times. We are in the midst of the home stretch of an existential election, and we are dealing with, without prejudging it, a White House for whom straightforward reporting and straightforward, transparent truth-telling is not a defining characteristic. That's as politely as I can put it. That's not a partisan point. It's simply an observation based on the history of where we are. So what I think we have to do as an informed citizenry, as voters who are even now registering our will at the polls, is please keep an eye out, hope for transparency.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.